Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here today. And thank you. I think MUSC had a lot to do with the air conditioning being here, so I'm most grateful for that after having to stand outside for a few minutes. A little over a year ago, the governor directed DHS to initiate an immediate review of our state's behavioral health funding and delivery system. One component of this review was increasing access to school-based mental health services. Last week, we reported tremendous progress in that initiative with a 65% increase in school-based mental health counselors for schools in South Carolina. Today, we're pleased to announce another important initiative to improve access to services across the continuum of behavioral health. A historic in coordination and collaboration between healthcare systems, state and local governments to construct much-needed behavioral health services. This effort actually started under the vision of Senator Hugh Loveland, whose wife Jean is with us today. Jean, raise your hand so everybody can see where you are. Thank you for being with us today. Had the Senator not had this vision, we wouldn't be standing here today, and we very much appreciate and are grateful for all the contributions that you and he have done for the state, so thank you. And now I want to introduce our first speaker. Governor, one of the first things you told me when I came back to HHS was be bold. Well, a $100 million collaborative community investment in healthcare is pretty bold. It's your leadership, your direction that's brought us together here. You've been a strong proponent for improving healthcare in South Carolina, and I'd like to thank you for your dedication to advancing the cause of behavioral health. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome to the podium the 117th and most effective governor in South Carolina.
Thank you. I'm happy to be. Can y'all hear me over that thing? All right, okay. I'll talk loud. I'll be quick. I'm happy to be in Florence again. I got cousins all over the place, some of them sitting right there, and it was a pleasure to work with Senator Levelman all those years, and he certainly made things happen, and this is one of them. I remember when he was asking about that. I tell you, I may not have told everybody here this story, so I'll tell it again. There's Mark White, and he worked in the Wilcox law firm, and our family's been together a long time. Well, one time somebody asked Julia, his wife, if we were cousins. I was lieutenant governor. She said, yeah, I think we might be. And then I got elected, I was attorney general. Then I got elected lieutenant governor, and they said, y'all cousins? She said, I'm pretty sure we are. And then I got elected governor. She says, ain't no doubt about it, we're cousins. But my mama and daddy were both born here. And, so Florence is a great place for me, Florence and Darlington County. But my message is that South Carolina is a place of firsts. We were first, if you remember, started in 1670 in the beautiful Southland. All the kings and queens were sending explorers all over, the Spanish, the French, the English, and everybody. And they were reporting back to their sovereigns that this place that today we call South Carolina is the most beautiful place in the New World. And it still is, and over all the years, people have come from different places. I think Walter Edgar says we came from 8 European countries. I think it's something like 19 West African cultures and somewhere around 41 American or Native American cultures and Indian cultures. And those names are reflected all over the place. And from then until now, we've grown, we've been through everything, hurricanes, wars, everything. And it's produced very strong people. And others have come in years after that. And that's why we're booming, because these businesses from around the world are looking for people to do their work. And when these big ones like BMW and Volvo and Scout Motors and all those, and Mercedes, when they come, they bring in some executives, but they are bringing their assets to have our people do the work. So it's always about the people. So we need to remember that. First, Here's just a quick history lesson. In 1694, the Lord's proprietors decreed that indigent, mentally ill should be cared for at public expense. Started a long time ago. In 1672, the Fellowship Society of Charleston established an infirmary for the mentally ill. Again, these are first. These are this is way before most of the states were even here. We one of the originals. In December the 20th, 2021, when there were 20 states among the United States, Colonel Samuel Fowler, who was a member of the South Carolina House of Representatives from Spartanburg, where my bride is from, and Major William Crafts, who was a member of the state Senate from Charleston, led the General Assembly in establishing what? The South Carolina Lunatic Asylum on Bull Street in Columbia for the deaf and dumb, is what they said at the time. Now, asylum is a good word. Lunatic might not be so good in today's context, but there it is, and the building's still there. You can go look at it. It was designed by Robert Mills, who included many innovations, fireproof ceilings, a central heating system, the world's first roof gardens, and he, of course, is the architect. He's considered America's first professional architect. He also designed courthouses all over South Carolina, as well as the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. And we were the second state to have a state-supported mental institution. The first was Virginia. So we were right there again first. So, I understand in 1824, that's when the Medical College of South Carolina was created. And by the way, speaking of how we're all related and all family, my granddaddy graduated from the Medical College of South Carolina in 1903, moved to Florence in 1905, practiced medicine until 1932, when he moved to King Street. He lived on Darvin Street, and that's where my daddy was born. My mama was born out of Darvin, was born on Cherokee Road, and so we all we're about as tangled up as any group of people in the whole world can be. And that's why you got to be careful. You remember Lindsey Graham, he said when he was a young lawyer up in Oconee County, he had a lot of country sort of people come in to see him, and they would ask some of the simplest questions. And one of them was, now, Lawyer Graham, if we are married in South Carolina and divorced in Georgia, are we still cousins? But see, this that we're doing today is also a model of collaboration and inspiration and innovation, and it brings all these assets together. One of the things I've learned in my time, and you have in yours, when you bring all those assets together, you break down the walls, you communicate, collaborate, cooperate, great things happen. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we are booming in South Carolina. We will take the mental health issues that are facing our people. Remember, the businesses from around the world, not only this country, but around the world, as I mentioned, they're looking at our people and saying, those are the ones I want working in my facility. I'm going to put my bets on the people of South Carolina. So our job, we got to educate them, we got to train them, we got to keep them safe. We put law enforcement officers in almost every 1,250 public schools in South Carolina. We've almost doubled the number of mental health counselors that if we can keep the environment safe, protect our cultural and environmental health heritage, have the very best educational system, and keep booming through our economic system, because all of them are intertwined, just like roots on a tree. If we can do that, there's no stopping, I believe, the state of South Carolina without people. We're in the fiercest competition now for economic growth and prosperity that we've ever been in, but we're winning, as you know. So I say two things. Always tell the children, be proud of South Carolina, because it is the best place in the world to live, work, and raise a family. And also, when good things happen, they happen here first, and they happen here fast. And today is another example of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for your leadership. I'm pleased to introduce our next speaker, another strong supporter of behavioral health and Rural Health, Speaker Murrell Smith. Speaker Smith enjoyed a special bond with Senator Lebanon, holding true to the commitment he made to construct this facility. That commitment has also led in the state budget last year to a provision directing HHS, in coordination with our partners at DMH, DHEC, and DEOTUS who joined us today, to bring resources and innovative solutions to bear to improve our behavioral health system, our state's behavioral health system. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for not only being a good friend, but for continued support of our agency and dedication to the state. Welcome to the podium, Speaker Murrell Smith.
Thank you, Robbie, for that kind introduction. And Governor, Georgia history lesson you just gave us. I didn't have any clue that we have been invested and created mental health in the state of South Carolina before we became a state. Really interested in the fact about the lunatic asylum, and I was thinking, after serving my first year as Speaker of the South Carolina House of Representatives, I believe they moved that lunatic asylum from Bull Street over to Gervais Street to the State House. So that explains a lot to me. First, it's a pleasure to be here. This is a historic event for this state. This is a historic collaboration, and I want to start and following up with what Robbie said, and Governor is Gene. I cannot forgive, I want to not let the opportunity go by to talk about Senator Levin. This was his idea, and this was his creation. And I had the privilege of serving with him for 3 years as being his counterpart in the House as Ways and Means Chairman. And I cannot think of somebody that cared more deeply about South Carolina and the PD and made sure that our citizens were able to prosper. And when we look at these type of collaborations we have here, and I often say this, we got great people, we have great resources, we have a great economy. But it's our job as legislators to make sure that we set the table for future growth and future success here in South Carolina. And you can't have that success without a vibrant behavioral health system. It is very, very important that we do that. And so with Chairman Leatherman's leadership, thinking of what he first thought about, the PD area of South Carolina is probably one of the areas that has one of the biggest gaps in behavioral health care in this state. And recognizing that, Chairman Leatherman moved this process forward, and the culmination is what we're here for today. And I think that as I look around, I think back to where we started, and I saw my old friend John McGill over here, who used to be Director of Mental Health when I became Chairman of the Health and Human Services Subcommittee. And we were coming off the Great Recession. Per capita mental health and behavioral health had received the largest percentage cuts in the whole reduction of the budget through the Great Recession. It was decimated. And we embarked on a process of trying to make sure that we provide those critical services to the state. And we worked on the outpatient, and the one last gap that we had was this inpatient crisis stabilization. And I am so proud that we're here today with this, because we learned that it couldn't be done only by mental health. It couldn't be done only with behavioral health. Really, it couldn't be done by the state of South Carolina. It was going to take a public-private partnership. And so we brought the stakeholders together, and I look at this, these stakeholders, MUSC, McLeod Health, Hope Health, Francis Marion University, MUSC, and a number of state agencies. But this could not happen without leadership. And I always say this, and I'll never pass the opportunity up. Governor McMaster, thank you for your leadership. Because Governor McMaster has come in and it doesn't think about why can't we do things, how can we accomplish things. And when we brought this together, Governor McMaster was a leader on this, and the gentleman over here behind me, Senator Rickenbaugh, Representative Williams, and Representative Jordan, the legislature came together, and we can't function and we can't be successful without working as a team, and Governor McMaster has been the captain of that team and made this all possible here today. So with that, I will say the last part of it, Governor McMaster, I heard you talk about your roots. My roots are very deep here in this community. In fact, one of your board members of McLeod Health is my cousin, Ben Ziegler. He gave me a history lesson on my family and the connections over here. But my parents attended Flanagan High School, right down the street from us, next to us. I was born here at McLeod Infirmary, and I have generations of family over here, and Ben educated of me on the fact that McClinigan High School is a cousin of mine, and that place this facility sits used to be what my grandmother called Uncle John's house, where every morning before she went to school, she went and had breakfast with Uncle John. So this is very personal to me and very sentimental for me to be able to take part of this today and watch what great things are happening. And this is on the future of what's coming to South Carolina. This is the model of care that we're going to set up regionally throughout the state, and we're going to have a vibrant and successful behavioral health system. So thank you for being here today, and thank you for all that participated.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just asked the governor if you were his cousin.
I'll claim him, yeah. I'll do better.
Over the last couple of years, I've had the pleasure of working with our next speaker. Dr. David Cole was one of the most perceptive and knowledgeable leaders in healthcare that I've ever met. And that's a good thing because he leads one of the premier medical research institutions in the country. And yet, despite his many accomplishments, if you know him, he's one of the most humble men you'll ever encounter. He's been personally instrumental in developing a collaborative relationship between MUSC and McLeod Health here. And I'm pleased to introduce to you today the President of the Medical University of South Carolina, Dr. David Cole.
Good morning, and thank you, Director Kerr and Governor McMaster. What an awesome day. I was telling somebody earlier, you have to celebrate these moments because they're few and far between when things come together where you can actually celebrate the start of something that's going to have a very meaningful impact. I also want to extend my gratitude to Speaker Smith, and again, reiterate the gratitude to the leadership of both the Speaker and Robbie Kerr and the Governor in making this come together. This is a community that is impressive in terms of how people come together to make a difference. The pride that's here, the pride that's in this state cannot be reiterated. It's something that we have to tap into and continue to build upon. MUSC, our overarching mission is to preserve and optimize human life in South Carolina. It's a lot. And I would say that behavioral health, or lack thereof, intersects with every dimension of our lives. One does not have to look much further than your circle of family or friends to have a story, something horrible, an awful outcome, because the lack of accessible, compassionate, impactful behavioral health. And now's the time for us to come together to change that dynamic. Today we're taking real and tangible steps to address this challenge and taking with our common purpose to collectively tackle the issues that block best patient care and sustainability for critical access for those that are struggling with behavioral health problems. I'm not even going to talk about the tsunami of anxiety and depression that our youth are facing. By the way, stay tuned because it's heading our direction. And I think this provides a basis for us to actually start putting the fire out and then start doing something on a larger scale to actually have us have a healthy society to reflect the health of our state. But today is more than merely a vision. It's about teamwork, it's about core commitment, it's about all the partners putting their needs together for Florence and the PD region. And I would say MUSC is very excited. They have the opportunity to help partner and help be a part of the leadership of this effort with our state and all of our local partners. There are at least 7 distinct institutions involved in this endeavor. And it's that kind of public-private collaboration that's going to enable us all to succeed. This first-of-a-kind facility in Florence and the PD promotes innovative approaches to help patients and family coping with severe mental illness, substance abuse, and other behavioral health concerns. From outpatient services to crisis stabilization to providing inpatient services when needed, I am willing to predict that this hub will serve as a model that we can emulate and continue to build across different regions with partners across the state. This is something that every region, in my belief, is going to have to step up with its healthcare and its community to be able to lean into this problem, to be successful. At the end of the day, it's about meeting the needs of those we serve, the patients and the families and the citizens of South Carolina. Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you, Dr. Cole. You know, one of the most unique aspects of this project is the coordination between the healthcare systems to serve the needs of the community. It's easy to underestimate the importance of the relationship that it has on this project. We don't believe it can reach its full potential without that coordination. An integral part of the success of the coordination is due to Donna Ervin. I've worked with many CEOs in healthcare systems over the years, but I have found few that are as dedicated and as effective as Donna. She has a heart for service and works tirelessly to bring quality care to this community. I have yet personally to bring a challenge to Donna that she hasn't enthusiastically stepped up and met. I'm pleased to introduce to you the CEO of McLeod Health, Donna Ervin.
Thank you, Director Carr. I think what you're hearing is a very common theme. And the theme is we are better together. You heard that from everyone that spoke. It started, Governor, about collaboration. It started, Speaker, when you talked about the names of the people that are involved in this. See, when we get out of our way, we get out of our own way, then it is absolutely fascinating what we can accomplish. I was just reminiscing with Matt Severance from the USC, and I remember back in 2019, and he and I were on a call, and he said, what can we do together to better this community? And it was from that, I remember the phone call from Senator Leatherman, and he said, Donna, we're gonna fix behavioral health. We're gonna do this. See, all of those things are about that better together. Carl Humphreys and Hope Health has jumped in the middle of that. McLeod Health has been in the behavioral health business for the last 38 years here in this community. We opened the old Greenland Park, for those of you that remember the McLeod Regional Campus. And Greenland Park sat there. 20 years later, we built a new facility over in Darlington. But 23 beds can't meet the needs of this community. It took something much bigger than that. It took something much bigger than McLeod Health. It took this state. It took the Department of Mental Health, it took the support of the legislature, and it took us getting out of our own way to do something that's better for the people of this community. That's exactly what today is about. We're doing something to uplift the people of this community. See, 1 in 5 people have some behavioral health need. So you're correct. Look around the table and you'll see them. But this is going to bring consolidated services to care for those people. Today is a blessed day, and McLeod Health is thrilled to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. When we identified the PD as the region to launch this pilot, we quickly found a willing partner in this effort in the city of Florence. We are not only pleased to find a willing collaborator, but one willing to make a meaningful and tangible commitment to its success. We believe the city of Florence's investment in this project is the first direct investment in a behavioral health facility by a South Carolina municipality. Thank you, Mayor Ervin, for your innovative commitment to leading this effort. I introduce to you Mayor Ervin from Florence.
Good morning. You know, it's an honor to be before you this morning with the podium guests already being established. I must look to our governor and say, it is an honor to have you back in Florence, South Carolina with in less than 2 weeks. When you can have the governor in Florence, that tells you that Florence, we are doing something right. So Governor, thank you again for being here, where all your family's located at anyway. Thank you. With the protocol already being established, I believe you've heard from each one of the speakers. With the ones that you've seen stood here, that is why we're able to move Florence forward. Because of the public-private partnership, leveraging those things together. I think one of the peak things that you can see about Florence right now is how well we are working together. Yes, Donna, we are better together. And I will say to Ms. Letterman, because of the senator planting these seeds for today, that's why we're standing here. So he even had the vision to take care of us when he has transitioned. So thank you for being there with him. When I look at the healthcare partners on this stage today, to see them to come together, I chose today to wear my Palmetto Gold pendant. When I think about Donna, she's my sister. And I guess you may say, how? You're both nurses. So when you look at this delegation from our state, I would like to thank them because when we cannot speak for ourselves here from the PD area, they speak for us. So I thank you. And I won't hold you long because I truly believe this hub, behavioral health hub, seals the fact that I told you that Florence is the hub of the PD. And now collectively, we can take care of the total mental health of all of our citizens, but not just here in the PD, but beyond. In preparing to come here today, I heard a statement on the radio saying that suicide and homicide is the leading cause of death among our young people now. Think about that. Suicide and homicide. So this behavioral hub can help us be able to get our young people to understand there are better and greater things ahead in their lives. So to all these partners, thank you for coming together. Thank you for working with the City of Florence to continue to provide everything we need. With our governor, I will say that last week we met some of the economic needs of this area, but today we sealed the deal for health care in the PD. We are the hub, and now we are the leading medical care hub in South Carolina. We can provide it all. Yes, a great place to live, a great place to work, and a great place to have fun because we can now provide you with all the tools you need to have great health. So once again to our partners, thank you for all that you're doing. And when Dr. Carter comes forward, we can also say now we have got a complete educational hub. How can you beat Florence with all of that? Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you again for your innovative leadership in this community. Last but certainly not least, it is my pleasure to introduce someone well known to y'all in the community, Dr. Fred Carter. Dr. Carter is the consummate public servant, serving South Carolina in many capacities, including the administration of 2 governors, former head of the Budget Control Board, and now president of Francis Marion University. He has been a mentor and a good friend to many of us. Last year, in response to the direction to our first 2 speakers, our agency established an advisory committee on behavioral health, and Dr. Carter was one of the first individuals we turned to. The work of that committee, in particular Dr. Carter, has helped to lead us where we are today. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Fred Carter, President of Francis Marion University.
Well, the PD region has waited 30 years for this day and this event, 3 decades. Let me explain. Let me put it in context by taking the governor's history and moving it up to just a little more contemporary time frame, the mid-90s. In the mid-90s, we decided to deinstitutionalize mental health care by closing many of our residential centers in South Carolina and establishing regional outpatient and counseling centers across the state. Now, you know, in and of itself, that wasn't bad. It was a trend of the times. But where as we're prone to do sometimes in Health and Human Services, we overestimated the cost savings and we underestimated the explosive need. We also didn't allow for the complex problems associated with identifying and educating rural patients and arranging for them to be transported to remote centers, not just for initial treatment, but for the numerous follow-ups. You know, these mistakes came from the well-intentioned but naive decisions made by the DMH and other leadership in Columbia at that time. And by the way, John McGill came after that, okay? They understood institutionalized care, but not the myriad of problems that stem from decentralizing that care around the state. But I have to tell you, many of us who were there at the time are also to blame, because we let this occur without asking the challenging and probing questions we should have. Now, the second mistake that was made 30 years ago involved the PD itself. The share of funding that came here was disproportionately less than that for other regions around the state, despite the fact that our portion of the population needing these services was growing at an exponential rate. Of course, this was further exacerbated by our substantial number of rural and underserved constituencies. Yeah, I know everybody here who's not from the PD is thinking, here they go again, wah, wah, it's the PD crying about what they don't get. Well, you know what? Last 20 years, we didn't have much to cry about. And we certainly don't today with this effort. But 30 years ago, those issues occurred. And so we had 30 years of mental health treatment, generally underfunded throughout the state and substantially underfunded within the PD region of South Carolina. All of which brings me to my friend, Hugh Leather, a legislator who continued to worry about these mental health treatment disparities, especially during the last 2 years of his life, and most especially during the last week of his life. That's right. During the last few days of his life, the chairman spoke extensively about the need for South Carolina to expand its behavioral health facilities and services. He shared his concerns with many of the people speaking here this morning. They listened, agreed, and that's why we're here today, celebrating a bold, new, and aggressive approach to treat behavioral health across the state of South Carolina. Now, no one ever spoke for Hugh Leatherman. He handled that pretty well for himself. But give me just a couple of minutes because I want to speak on his behalf, and Jean's, in extending thanks and appreciation for a few folks for today's occurrence. The governor, for being so supportive of this and so many other things affecting the most vulnerable people in this state. Most of us know that Chairman Leatherman never cared much for governors, feuded with one or two along the way. The Governor McMaster, you were one of the exceptions. He liked you, he admired you, and he had profound respect for the compassion and empathy that you have for the people of this state. And that's abundantly reflected in your support for this initiative. Thank you, sir. Mr. Speaker, there is great rivalry between Florence and Sumter over who really gets to claim it. We know that this is your real hometown, but we also noticed for a number of years you would put projects in the budget for Florence while Senator Leatherman would put projects in the budget for Sumter. Now, some folks might just regard that as astute politicking. But among us over here, we know that's because you really wanted to have those projects here. Your heart never left Florence. Mr. Speaker, thank you for working with Chairman Leatherman on this last great project. The two of you accomplished so many things together, but this may very well be one of your most meaningful. And members of the delegation, thank you so much for your support through this process. We wouldn't be here today without everything you did as well. We couldn't be more appreciative as a community. We also want to recognize the support that Senator President Thomas Alexander and Finance Chair Harvey Peeler committed to this effort. They not only understood its importance to Senator Leatherman, but they understood its importance to the health and well-being of the state. Senator Reckenbach, thank you, and please express our appreciation to the entire Senate for their support of this initiative. Of course, a special thanks goes to our friend Robbie Kerr. Robbie and Hugh had a close relationship that extended over a few decades. The chairman felt that no one in the country understood health financing better than Robbie. And the creation of this facility is a pretty fair indication that he was right. But I have to tell you, when this process started a couple of years ago, Robbie made it abundantly clear that the first region to receive a new behavioral health facility would be the PD. Mostly out of the recognition for the need, partly out of the respect to the chairman. Both are laudable. Madam Mayor, thank you for Florence's literal and figurative contribution to this project. This building shouldn't have been located anywhere other than Florence, and your determination, tenacity, and the strong support from our friends on City Council made this possible. Of course, those 250 additional jobs will be a welcome addition to the most hospitable city in the state. Finally, to David and Donna. The chairman would be so proud at the collaborative effort between MUSC and McLeod in launching this effort. Everyone here should understand that hospitals do not generate profits from offering behavioral care. That they do it because it's an imperative part of sustaining a community's health and treating its most fragile people. You had great confidence in MUSC and McLeod and their ability to accomplish both of these goals, especially with David and Donna at the helms. Thank you all for coming today, for being part of correcting a 30-year mistake and helping fulfill Hugh Leatherman's last and most compelling request for the people of South Carolina.